Yeah, I like Maggie Stiefvater.
Yep, that's me.
Hello, beautiful bookish people. My name is Hannah, and I've officially read all of Maggie Stiefvater's works. But let's just go ahead and get into it. The first series I read of Maggie Stiefvater was The Raven Boys. Wow. The Raven Boys is about this guy named Gansey, who from the beginning of the story you know is going to die. Whoa. Dun dun dun! And him and his friends are tracking down this Welsh king because the legend is if you find him, he'll grant you one favor. So, on the way to this Welsh king, they run into this girl named Blue Sargent, whose family is filled with psychics. But she is not one herself. She is just used as a tool, as an amplifier for magical things. Confused? That's just the beginning of it. And if you throw in just a little bit of the most lyrical writing I've ever seen, then you get, boom, The Raven Boys. And I'm well aware that if you do not connect with any of the characters of the Raven Boys, you are not going to like it, because these books, tried and true, are character studies. Yes, is there stuff going on? Is the atmosphere cool? Of course. But at the end of the day, it's not really about that Welsh king. It's about the journey the friends go to find that Welsh king. And I'm not mad about that. This just tried and true is about the characters. Blue is a feminist with feathers in her hair who is going to tell you what's on her mind no matter what. Ronan has a hard exterior but maybe a savior complex, which means he's always going to be there for you. Adam is just a soft boy who doesn't like talking about his feelings, which is odd because he's the one talking about them the most. And Gansey is just a rich, pretentious white dude who at the end of the day wants the best for you but maybe doesn't go about that in the best ways. And what's really cool about the Raven Boys that I often don't see talked about is that the romance and the friendship relationships are handled about equally, which I don't think happens all that often. Because in my opinion, it's so beautiful to see a friendship and relationship getting equal airtime. What I mean is, like, you know each person's dynamic with each other, and it's different with each character. So you know Blue and Ronan's relationship is different from Blue and Adam's relationship. They're all well fleshed out characters, and I love them. If you haven't guessed by now. The downside of the Raven Boys is Maggie gets sidetracked so often to the point where you don't even know what's important. Like that one tree that has Latin on it. Will it come back to fruition? Probably not. But do you enjoy the conversations with the friends about the tree that has Latin on it? Yes. So that's why you should read The Raven Boys. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. But the next series is the Wolves of Mercy Fall series, Shiver, Linger, and Forever. Now, this series is about this girl named Grace, and she is a wolf girl. And, like, seriously a wolf girl, like that Vine wolf girl.
Leopard on all levels except physical. I am a wolf.
She's obsessed with wolves. She takes pictures of wolves, and she even has a favorite wolf that roams around her local hometown, and guess what? He's a werewolf that needs her help.
And
This book series is definitely for Team Jacob people, and you think I'm kidding, but they came out very closely relating to Twilight, and you can tell. Like imagine that weird part in Breaking Dawn Part 2 where we're just constantly with the pack and hearing people's thoughts. Like those are those books, but instead of thoughts, they're pictures. I'm not kidding. They communicate through images of pictures in their head. And like, I can swallow all that. Don't get me wrong. What gets me upset about this series is Grace is not a good friend. The main protagonist is not a good friend, which causes me so much sadness because the Raven cycle is built on its friendships. And when Grace is complaining about how she just wants to talk about her wolf thing, when her friend is literally going through grief when her brother died, I'm like, Grace, sit down, this is not about you. That really made her unredeemable to me. What I do appreciate about these books is there's no second book breakup. There's more complicated complications that add to their dynamic of a relationship, and it doesn't have to always result in them breaking up. But there are some cringy scenes of poetry and lyric writing in these books. If you're in for like a 2009, excuse me, weird lyric writing moment, yeah, go for it. But now that that's being said, let's talk about those two book spin-offs, shall we? Maggie Stiefvater loves her side characters more than her actual protagonists, and that's a fact. You can see it in both of these series. But let's talk about Call Down the Hawk first, because I like it more, just a little. Because Maggie gets sidetracked so often with her side characters that they need their own book, and that's what Call Down the Hawk is. And I'm not complaining because Gansey is in here, but only in phone calls, and I'm a little cheated on that, but it's fine. Sometimes I think that Maggie likes to tackle too much, and if we took away maybe one element from the Raven cycle, because there's like this whole plot line of like underground magical trade that is kind of tackled more in this one. I just wish it kept it for this one, because the Raven King suffered from a lot, but it suffered from the syndrome of doing too much. The too much syndrome. Where in that we now get to tackle it from Ronan's perspective, that underground magical trade, but also being angsty about his relationship. Call Down the Hawk is just about basically Ronan tackling his internal demons and possibly maybe discovering other people who are like him. Insert Barbie meme.
I'm just like you. You are? You're just like me.
But yeah, it's good. If Ronan is your favorite character, you're gonna love it. If not, you're gonna like his brother Declan a lot. If Ronan is not your favorite character, Declan is for you, which is his older brother, and he is the exact opposite. He's the leader of the family. He's like responsible, thinks things through, but he doesn't want to. He's like the suppressed angst that really does something to me. But if you're kind of iffy, I would say focus on Declan. Declan is... I have no words for him. But Sinner is hands down the best book in the Wolves of Mercy Fall series. Like, it takes away all the like kind of weird werewolf lore of it that we didn't really necessarily need, and then focuses it right on the romance, which Maggie Stiefvater is good at. Nobody can tell me otherwise. She's so good at little moments that tell you everything about a character. It just kind of sucks because this book is so heavily ingrained with the other ones that I can't recommend this book without telling you to read Shiver, because if you just pick this book up, it's not going to make any sense, but it's the best one. You see my dilemma? Because like, Shiver is literally not worth it, but Sinner, gosh dang it is. This book is peak werewolf reality TV show star, and I didn't know I wanted that. But yeah, you see, it's a catch-22. I love it, but would never recommend it, because I would never recommend Shiver. So, alas, a lark. Okay, next I want why did I say it like that? Okay, next I want to talk about Maggie's like single work with the Scorpio Races and all the Crooked Saints. And like, the Scorpio Races is like hands down, like objectively, Maggie's best book. From the plotting to the pacing to the interesting character dynamics, it's her best book. This story follows a girl and a boy where magical horses, not like the unicorn magical kind of horses, no, these are like man-eating horses that come out of the sea and eat people. But these horses can be trained, and that's what the Scorpio Races are. They're basically these magical horse-eating people meets the Kentucky Derby. So we race them, because that sounds like a great idea, right? It's very different from other Maggie Stiefvater books because it's based on the environment. Like, Maggie typically focuses on like kind of light fabulism, but this story is very dark and grim and focuses on like the darker half of humanity, which she doesn't typically tackle, but is done really well. What I think Maggie is very good at is endearing you to things that you normally wouldn't be endeared towards, because like I am not a horse girl, but at the end of the day I cared for these horses. And it's the same with the Raven Boys and Wolves of Mercy Falls. Like, I'm not a car person, but the amount of car chases and car scenes made me care about Ronan's BMW and Gansey's car. You know what I mean? Like, I shouldn't, but I do because of Maddie's descriptions. Maggie knows how to write a good action sequence, and the Scorpio Races is like the peak of that. Next one is All the Crooked Saints, and to put it simply, All the Crooked Saints is inspired by 1,000 Years of Solitude, but shortened and boiled down to a parable.
Wow.
Which is not gonna be for everyone. This is like peak lyrical Maggie writing and metaphors up the wazoo, and it's like mixed in with like magic is underneath everything type of vibe to it. It's not the same vibe as like the Raven Boys, probably because this focuses more on a family dynamic more than a friendship dynamic. But it's set in the 1960s in Boulder, Colorado, around a family that can grant miracles. And the conflict of this book is that the miracles are not going as planned. So if you like shy but ambitious women, Beatrice is for you. And if you like that archetype of like the best friend but he's the love interest, Pete is that. And I'm glad we got that, but for some reason they're just not like, they're not as fleshed out as I want them to be. Like, I can't touch them like I can touch the Raven Boys, and I don't know if that's the point. I think it is, but I don't like it. But if you go into this book, I just want you to know it's a shortened parable. It's gonna be a moral lesson at the end of the day. It's a classic book shortened. It's just not gonna be for everyone. I fell more on the like side because I love analyzing things, but it's just not gonna be everyone's book, you know? Moving on! And the last two books that I have to talk about are Maggie's unfinished trilogy called Nothing More Than the Book of Faerie. The first one is Lamont, and it follows this girl named Detra who can see fairies, which is rare because typically people can't. But it's also a special gift that runs in her family. How about that? And there's an underlying music ability. Whoa, who would have thought about that? And we follow Detra as she falls in love with a fairy assassin, I wish I was kidding, named Luke. And like most of Maggie's books, this book is a character study as we're figuring out, along with Detra, most importantly, who she is. And then Ballad expands on that, but puts it in the context of a music school, but a special music school where everyone can see fairies. This one focuses on James, Detra's best friend, and then boom, love triangle, because we find out that James has been harboring feelings for Detra all this time. Who would have thought? The main protagonist is attractive. And the thing about like these two books is I think you can tell that they're Maggie's first works because there are a bunch of discussions and elements that Maggie likes to talk about in future books but find tuned in other books. Also, Maggie kind of puts you in this world and kind of just trusts that you'll believe it without much of an explanation about anything. But Ballad seems to connect to the Raven Boys in some sort of way because it takes place in Virginia and there's a fairy named Campbell. And if you don't know, Gansey's middle name is Campbell. So could he be named after a fairy? Is he a fairy? I would be up to speculation. I would be up for some conspiracy theories if anybody is up for that. It might be a little bit of a stretch, but like not implausible, right? If you want a fun, jaunty ride with some fairies, yeah, go for it. I like them. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I love Maggie Stiefvater, and I hope sometime that you pick her up because she's pretty great. All right, bye. And just, oh my gosh. And Gansey is just a and we fall, what? Okay. Blah. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire! This one focuses on what? Gosh dang. Dang it. I'm gonna have to fix it. This book is like peak rockstar I can't say werewolf. I do appreciate about these what? Reality TV, so what? Gosh, oof, that was heavy.